Have you ever stopped to think about the mind you inherited? No, seriously. For so many entrepreneurs, especially here in India, there's this mental software that's just running in the background. It's an invisible script, and it's telling you what success is supposed to look like. But what if that script, the one you've been following your whole life, is actually leading you down the completely wrong path? So that brings us to the real question. And I want to ask you this directly. Whose dream are you really chasing? Before I even try to answer that, let me tell you about a guy named Rahul. His story, well, it might just feel a little too familiar. Just take a look at this. On paper, Rahul is absolutely crushing it. I mean, 2018, he graduates from IIM Ahmedabad, top of his class. Fast forward to 2023, his startup gets funded, he's featured in the Economic Times, he's won the game, right? But then 2024 hits, and he's wide awake at 3 a.m. Not because the business is on fire, but because there's this one single question burrowing into his brain that he just can't shake. And that's the question right there. Is this what I actually wanted? You see, Rahul's problem wasn't a business crisis, not at all. It was a crisis of purpose. He woke up one day and realized he wasn't building his own company, he was just performing a role handed to him by what we call an invisible inheritance, this global mythology of what a successful founder is supposed to be, beamed straight out of Silicon Valley. So let's start pulling at the threads of this invisible inheritance. Let's start with the first and maybe the biggest one, the MBA myth. We're taught all these so-called truths about business, but what if they're just borrowed frameworks? What if the very education that's meant to make you a business leader is actually programming you to be a great manager, but a terrible founder? To understand this, we've got to go way back to the source. The MBA program started at Harvard in 1908 was created for a very, very specific reason, to train professionals to manage huge, existing corporations. We're talking about the Fords and the General Electrics of the world. Think about that for a second. Its entire DNA is about efficiency, about optimization, about keeping a machine that's already running, well, running. It was never, ever designed to teach someone how to build that machine from scratch. And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Look at the difference. A manager runs things that exist. They serve shareholders who exist. They think in quarters. A founder, though, they have to create something new, create new value, and think in decades. This leads to what I call the street smart paradox. You see, you go to places like Ludhiana or Surat, and you find these incredible founders who've built businesses that last for generations. Why? Precisely because they never went to business school. They never learned to think like an employee. From day one, they've always thought like owners. Okay, so that leads us right into the second piece of inherited code, an idea imported directly from the startup mothership Silicon Valley. And that is the exit trap. This is the obsession, the belief that the entire point of building a company is just to selling. And when selling is your number one goal, man, it infects everything. It's like a virus. Suddenly, you're not optimizing for what's best for the customer or for long-term health. No, you're optimizing for metrics that'll look good to an acquirer. You're optimizing for crazy growth, even if it's not sustainable. You're building a story for a pitch deck, telling VCs exactly what they want to hear. And you know who gets forgotten in all that noise? The customer. Every single time. Let me give you a classic Indian example of this. Think about the pioneers, the road builders like Ola and Paytm. These guys spent thousands upon thousands of crores building the actual infrastructure. They literally taught an entire nation of 1 billion people how to book a cab with an app, how to pay for things digitally. They built the road. And here's the kicker. After all that money, all that risk, all that painful user education, who really cashed in? The competitors. Companies like PhonePe and Google Pay. They showed up later, after the road was already paved, painted, and paid for by someone else. They just had to drive on it. So when you optimize for a quick exit, you might just be building very expensive infrastructure for your competition. So this all boils down to one really potent question for you, and I want you to really sit with this for a second. If selling your company was impossible, if you could never exit, would you still be building what you're building right now? That one question is the great filter. It separates the exit-obsessed mindset from the legacy mindset you see in multi-generational businesses, which were always, from day one, built to last. All right, this next one, this might be the biggest myth of them all. It's the cultural mismatch. We're constantly bombarded with Western startup advice, you know the stuff. Follow your passion, put yourself first, break away from the past. But what if all of that is just Western software? And what if trying to run it on Indian hardware is causing a massive civilizational glitch? And this chart tells you everything you need to know. In America, about 75% of household savings go into the stock market. In India, a measly 3%. Now, this isn't just a financial statistic, folks. This is a cultural X-ray. It tells us that capital in India isn't institutional, it's relational. Money flows through the high-speed fiber optic cable of family, of community, of trust, not through anonymous markets. And this is the fundamental difference. You see, the Western system is built on a foundation of rights. The individual is seen as autonomous, free to pursue their own self-interest. But the Indian system is built on dharma, on duty. The individual isn't separate. They're embedded in a web of obligations to family, to community. Neither one is right or wrong. They're just completely different operating systems. And you can't just copy-paste advice from one and expect it to work on the other. So, here's the big, counterintuitive twist. The joint family, the thing so much Western advice tells you to escape from. It's not an obstacle. It's a strategic asset. It's your secret weapon. It provides the high-trust loans, the reliable labor, the insider networks for deals that you just can't replicate with a cold email. The truly successful Indian founders didn't run away from their families. They built with them. Okay, so we've spent all this time tearing down these old myths. What do we build in their place? What really, truly matters for a founder today? What's your one true asset? I'll give you a hint. It's not the list of skills on your LinkedIn profile. It's judgment. Let's be brutally honest. In the age of AI, skills are becoming commodities. They're getting cheaper by the day. You can learn to code on YouTube. You can get an AI to analyze your spreadsheets. AI is fantastic at execution, at doing what it's told. But you know what it can't do? It can't decide what to build in the first place. It can't feel a shift in the market. It can't make a tough call on who to hire. It has zero judgment. And this means we need to completely flip the script. We need to change the fundamental question we ask ourselves. The old question, the one we've all been taught, was what skills do I need to learn? The new question, the one that actually matters, is what judgment have I developed? And here's the thing, you can't learn judgment in a classroom. It's not taught, it's forged. It's earned by doing things, not just reading about them. It's earned by failing and then actually taking the time to digest the lessons. It's earned by reflecting and then compounding that wisdom over time. That boring corporate job you had, that wasn't just a paycheck, that was your training ground. That is where you built your real asset. And this brings us to the very heart of it all, the final and maybe the most uncomfortable question you have to ask yourself. We have to face the very real possibility that the dream we're working so hard for might not even be our own. There's this amazing concept from a philosopher named René Girard called mimetic desire. The theory is actually pretty simple. We are all basically just copycats. We often don't want things because of the thing itself. We want them because we see other people wanting them. Think of it as the LinkedIn effect. You're scrolling, you see a college batchmate announce their big funding round, and you feel that pang of desire. That pang feels deeply personal, but it's not. It's mimetic. You're catching their ambition like a cold. So how in the world do you know if your ambition is the real deal or if it's just a borrowed desire? Well, there's a test. A simple but brutally effective authenticity test. It all comes down to one defining question. If your answer is an immediate, gut-level yes, you've probably found something real. If the answer is no, you might just be chasing approval and calling it ambition. And that question is? Here it is. I want you to really think about this for a second. If nobody would ever know, no LinkedIn posts, no praise from my family, zero social recognition, would I still want this? So let's bring it all home. The goal of all this isn't to kill your ambition, not at all. It's to purify it. It's about questioning the mental software you've inherited. It's about recognizing that your true, irreplaceable asset in this new world is your judgment, not your skills. And most importantly, it's about making damn sure that the massive, all-consuming dream you're chasing is truly, authentically, 100% your own. Because that, my friends, is the only foundation worth building a life on.